It's a matter of urgency to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. And that is why we need to reduce the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. How do we achieve it? There are two main alternatives for removing CO2 from the atmosphere. Those based on the action of nature, typically simpler, cheaper, and more viable, and those that capture it from the air or water artificially. Among the large carbon sinks, oceans, forests, and soils, the most efficient option is soil carbon sequestration. It is based on the process of photosynthesis, which causes plants to absorb carbon dioxide from the air as they grow and store under the soil in a more stable form. In order to optimize the process, changes in traditional agricultural practices are needed, so as to provide more stable organic matter capable of slowing down its decomposition. These are simple practices, such as leaving harvest residues on the soil without burning them, minimum tillage, greater crop rotation, or reducing fallow periods. Forests are another major carbon sink. Planting trees can therefore contribute to this objective. The energy of the sun separates oxygen from water and CO2 in plants, forming carbohydrates that are used for growth. Apart from permeating the soil, carbon is stored in the tree itself and becomes part of it. However, the natural cycle of CO2 causes it to be returned into the atmosphere, so a carefully controlled system must be implemented in order to prevent deforestation. One way of using photosynthesis, more complex than the previous ones, is bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, or BECCS. As a complement to the natural process, when plants are grown, biomass is extracted to produce biofuels. When these are burnt to produce energy, the CO2 generated in their combustion is captured and stored in the subsoil, or mixed for different uses, concrete manufacturing for instance. Unfortunately, this technique is currently inefficient and very expensive. Finally, there are systems to capture and store CO2 directly from the air in an artificial manner. This is done without using the natural carbon cycle. The potential is enormous, but the technology is still very expensive and requires a lot of energy. There may be no single answer to the problem of how we can reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Rather, the solution consists of multiple natural and artificial techniques working together. In fact, the methods created by humanity are not developing fast enough. This leads us to believe that the first and most important step is to reduce CO2 emissions by investing in renewable energies. Global warming is a reality, but as we have seen, there's still time to devise solutions to help us mitigate its effects. Shall we start by reducing CO2 emissions in the atmosphere?